Well, it is the cocktail conspiracy hour is back upon us, and I've been working through my brain to figure out what to talk about. So I decided to leap a little bit from Tecumseh's curse and go to a conspiracy theory that I've always thought about and had, and see what you think now. But the key word, cocktail. So what are we having today? Well, let me show you what this is. This is called Screwball Whiskey, and it is peanut butter whiskey. That's right. It's whiskey with a little peanut butter flavor. It's good stuff. And you'll see now in a little bit why I am drinking peanut butter whiskey. But I'll tell you what, this is what they call smooth sipping whiskey. Here's a sip. That is so smooth and good. It's like, that is like drinking peanut butter. And see, this is where you get in trouble. Children, I'm of age, I'm allowed to do this. You sip whiskey. You don't shoot whiskey. You sip it. Okay, that's just a little thing there. Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln, the second person to fall to Tecumseh's curse. If you haven't seen the first cocktail conspiracy hour about Tecumseh's curse, you need to go back and watch it because it kind of sets the scene for everything. Now, why am I talking about Abraham Lincoln? We already know who shot Abraham Lincoln. We know that John Wilkes Booth is the one that assassinated Lincoln. He jumped from the booth where Lincoln was sitting. He jumped on the stage at Ford's Theater that's in Washington, D.C. And as he jumped, he landed on the stage, broke his leg, and said, "Sic semper tyrannis," which means "thus it shall ever be for tyrants." And in the melee and the excitement, he gets away, rides his horse all the way through Maryland, sends the people on a wild goose chase, finally finding him in a barn where he was supposed to be captured alive. Yet we have an overzealous person who decides, I'm not going to capture him alive. I'm going to be a hero. And they start smoking out the barn, and he is shot and he dies, saying useless, useless, looking at his hands because he cannot move, because what they think is that he was paralyzed by the gunshot wound. Okay, now that's just a little tidbit of history, but we know that he was in conspiracy with other people. See, Lincoln's assassination wasn't supposed to be an assassination at first. Okay, it was supposed to be a kidnapping. They were going to kidnap President Lincoln, hold him as a hostage for ransom to get some of the Confederate soldiers back. See, John Wilkes Booth was a Confederate sympathizer, right? He did not want the end of slavery. He did not want the South to lose the Civil War. Now, this quickly turns from a plot to kidnap the president, and then it changes to a plot to assassinate not only the president, but Vice President Andrew Johnson and Secretary of State William Seward. They're all in the plot, and it changes from kidnapping to assassination when John Wilkes Booth finds out that President Lincoln is wanting to give citizenship to the free, what is going to be the newly freed slaves. Something twists, something turns. He's already got some people that he's in cahoots with. Mary Surratt owns the boarding house where They met. Her son, John Surratt, was there. We have someone named George Atzerodt, and he's given the task to assassinate Vice President Johnson. And then we've got Lewis Payne, who's supposed to assassinate William Seward. So we have conspirators. But my question is, do we know who they all were? There might be one more. And this is just my thought. I don't know. I'm just putting two and two together. Now, the security detail for President Lincoln and any president before that is minimal. There are stories of President Lincoln walking from the War Department back home to the White House unaccompanied. They didn't have a Secret Service detail like they do now. The president and his family, they're not surrounded by tons of people, trying to make sure that every move is watched, their families watched. That was almost non-existent. They had they had an assassination attempt on Lincoln. God, that is so good. But anyway, so they got a little nervous, but he really did not have this detail. Now, guess what? July of 1865, the Secret Service was started to protect government officials and other things. I wonder what precipitated that. This did. Let me tell you about this. Okay. President Lincoln was given 4 people to kind of watch after him. All right? One of these people, his name is John Parker. Now, John Parker was supposed to be the one that watched President Lincoln at Ford's Theater. Okay? What is that saying that's new now? You had one job. You had one job, John Parker. What happened? Let's see what he did. Now, did he not do his job to protect the president, but did he do his job for maybe the conspirators to assassinate Lincoln? Now, listen, I'm just throwing an idea out there. I don't know if it's true. I'm just trying to add everything together because something is hinky. Okay, it is hinky. So let's go back to the night. April 14th, 1865, Ford's Theater, Washington, D.C. John Parker, who is a ne'er-do-well cop, okay, is supposed to be guarding President Lincoln at the play called Our American Cousin. Now, see, back then, to be in the theater, it was kind of bawdy. For those of you who don't know what bawdy means, A, you should. B, I'm fixing to tell you, it means a little rough around the edges. Maybe the humor's a little off. Okay, so they're at Our American Cousin, and John Parker was supposed to be there to kind of look around, make sure everything was okay. Okay, all right? And he was the president's security that night, John Parker. Now, John Parker had been disciplined as a police officer. Okay, he had been things in his record, sleeping on the job, found him asleep a second time inside of a train car because he said he heard ducks in there. Seriously? And then you also have him going to visit ladies of the evening. Like I said, we're still a family show, but he was going to seek out prostitutes. Okay. And he just didn't do a good job. So why in the world he was chosen to protect the president of the United States? No clue. But he was. Now, He was supposed to be at the theater at 4. Guess what time he comes walking in? 7 o'clock. Only 3 hours late. Now, can you be 3 hours late for your job? I can't be 3 hours late for my job. And yet, he's 3 hours late. He arrives at 7. The president does not arrive until 9 o'clock. He's supposed to be watching the area. President Lincoln arrives at the time at about 9 o'clock. They stop the play Hail to the Chief. Dun, 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 that, you know what I'm talking about? That's called Hail to the Chief. He walks in with his wife, okay, and his guests, and they sit in the booth. Now, John Parker got up, because when you're guarding a booth, from a booth, I might add, okay, when you're guarding a booth, guess what? You don't have the best seat for the play, okay? You don't have the best seat for the play because you're doing a job. But anyway, John Parker at intermission left and went to the Star Saloon. Now, at the Star Saloon, he has a drink or 5. I don't know how many drinks he had, but he had a few. Guess who else was at the Star Saloon? John Wilkes Booth. Now, y'all've got to understand, John Wilkes Booth is one of the most famous actors in America. So if you saw him at the saloon, you'd almost be starstruck. John Parker wasn't starstruck. But if you saw John Wilkes Booth at the theater, you really didn't think anything about it because he was an actor. So to see him in the theater was, oh, there's John Wilkes Booth. Oh my gosh, he's at the theater. Well, of course he is. He's an actor. All right. So that's like seeing an actor in Hollywood and saying, ooh, I bet, yeah, it makes sense for him to be there. So there's not that fear that John Wilkes Booth is going to do anything. However, John Parker leaves after he goes to the Star Saloon, and Booth is at the Star Saloon. John Parker's at the Star Saloon. Okay. John Parker does not go back up to Lincoln's booth. John Parker left his post to go sit in the audience so he could have a better seat to see the play. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He left his post. He had one job and he did not do it. Now, could it have been that he met with John Wilkes Booth? Could it have been that John Wilkes Booth said, hey, I know that you're on President Lincoln's detail. I bet I can get you a seat in the play. Do you think maybe that could be part of it? Okay, maybe they met up. All right, let's see what happens next. John Parker is sitting out in the audience, and John Wilkes Booth, being the actor, he waits for the funniest line of the play. And because he knows that the laughter is just going to be uproarious. It's some line like, you don't know much about society, eh? I'll turn you out, you old sock dollar guys, and old man trap. Something like that. Of course, I don't. I've read it several times. Don't know the exact words, but this laughter just erupts. And that is when Booth, at the unguarded door, makes his way into Lincoln's seating area and assassinates the president. John Parker is sitting in the audience watching it happen. Okay? All for a better view? That's what he told the people. Well, I just wanted a better view. Was that his job? No. Here's my thought. Maybe John Wilkes Booth was no dummy, but I think John Parker, I'm sorry for his family. You don't like to hurt people's feelings, but I mean, come on. I wonder if John Wilkes Booth said, hey man, I can get you a good seat in there. You want to see this play because you're fixing to see the greatest performance you've ever seen. I wonder. What do you think? Could it be? Could it be that John Parker never lost his job? Do you want to know what else? John Parker not only didn't lose his job, he was put back on the detail of guarding the White House. And the Lincolns, Mrs. Lincoln went to him when she found out that he was the one that was supposed to be guarding the door and guarding the booth from Booth, and he left his post. She said, I will never forgive you. He said, listen, I didn't know. I just went for a better seat. I regret it. I regret it. Well, she gave him a piece of her mind. Now, let me tell you this. This is just a conspiracy theory. This is just me kind of looking at all the different things, trying to piece two and two together. It didn't have to be an inside job because everybody knows that Booth is at the theater. But could Booth have gained that access by offering John Parker either money or a seat in the middle of the audience, in the middle of the crowd? Now, that is what I'm putting forth for my cocktail conspiracy hour. That's less than an hour. If you have not seen the Tecumseh's Curse, you need to go back and watch it because it will explain why we're going to be coming back in 1880, 1900, 1920, 1940, 1960, 1980. Okay, it just gets more and more. Now, if you want, send me your ideas for what you'd like to hear about conspiracy theory wise. Remember, this is a family show. But I'd love to hear your ideas. I've already heard from several of you things you'd be interested in learning about. And I've already got my idea for my next cocktail conspiracy hour. Now, every cocktail conspiracy hour, I'm going to have a new cocktail, and we'll be happy to tell you about it. Now, I'm going to have to start something that has wine in it because I really like wine. So I think maybe cooking with wine might be a good thing to do too. But this is my conspiracy. I hope you've enjoyed the cocktail conspiracy hour. That's less than an hour. And I'll see you next week with another conspiracy here in American history. Y'all have a good week. See, I'm learning how to do this, y'all. See? Getting it done. Can't see.